What's up, guys? This is RAVENOUS KELLS, and today I'm actually going to be reading something I just finished writing. So, as you guys know, this is my last week of school, and I'm very excited that I got through my first year. And previously, I told you guys on one of my videos that I was taking a prison class. Well, I just wrote my final paper for prison class, and it means a lot to me. Like, I've spent so much time writing this because I feel passionate for this. So what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is my thoughts on death row and death penalty. That's basically what my paper is about. So guys, I know it's going to be a little bit long and it's a paper, but trust me, it's worth it. I want you guys to get something out of this. I want you guys to, I don't know, be more open-minded afterwards, or I don't know. Hopefully it'll just be something that'll be a positive influence to you guys. So let's get started. Alright. The Bill of Rights, Amendment 8. No excessive bail or fines, no cruel and unusual punishments. Who decides what is cruel or what is unusual? Sentencing people to death has been a solution since 1976. U.S. executions since 1976, 1,099 executions. And on death row in the U.S., 3,263 as of January 2008. The methods of execution were, in India prior to 1913, all executions were by hanging. From 1913 through 1994, all executions were by electric chair. And since 1995, all executions have been lethal injection. Current execution procedure is found at India and requires that the lethal injection execution takes place inside the walls of the Indiana State prison at Michigan City before sunrise. So that's just, I have a lot more of methods. So there are gassing, hanging people, firing squad, and that's about it. And the only state that doesn't have a crazy execution, they just hang people, is Nebraska. Nebraska. I was thinking about basketball. Nebasketball? But anyways, I'm gonna skip all that because I'm trying to grab your attention. But you know, that's all you need to know. I suppose that being hung, given lethal injections / gas, and being electrocuted isn't cruel at all. That's why it's legal and justified depending on people who decide if you deserve to live or die for whatever you've done. Right? I am honestly stuck and do not know where to begin writing about how inhumane death penalty is. Under what circumstances does it take for someone to get death row? So I'm going to read to you guys. The death penalty is possible. The possible punishments of death penalties, and they are aggravated by murders. So, a murder committed by a person who has prior conviction for a capital offense, or who has a substantial history of serious assault convictions. And so I am going to read you guys a few more. So, a murder committed for money or profit, a murder of a prison guard on duty by a prisoner, a murder of a victim while the victim was protected from the murderer by an emergency protective order. And there's a lot more. But moving on. People who have murdered others, possibly unintentionally, were driven to do so under intense, unstable, and misinterpreted situations. When people are in situations that involves them making mistakes or even having psychological or emotional unstableness, others will perceive their situations differently because they are not making these mistakes or emotionally or psychologically unstable. Being understanding and having experience has a huge impact on how we perceive everything or anything. A lot of people who commit serious crimes are often misunderstood and portrayed in the media as notorious criminals. In reality, everyone makes different mistakes on different scales and weights, and using the death penalty is not an inventive, progressive, secure solution for a community, a state, a country, or for our world. Sending someone to prison is temporarily making the person disappear and isolated from the civilian world. But giving someone death row is permanently, purposely making someone disappear from not only the civilian world, but from the person's family and that person's future. On March 15, 1998, Caldill and accomplice Jonathan Goforth entered the home of a 73-year-old female and beat her to death. Her skull was shattered. After killing her, they burglarized her home. Then they placed her body in the trunk of her own car and drove her to a rural area and set the car on fire. The victim was burned so badly that she could not be recognized. Caldill and Goforth were sentenced to death in March of 2000. This description doesn't say much on why these two killed the 73-year-old. All that matters in the justice system is that they've committed murder and that they deserve to die. A lot of people may think those who murder others deserve to die because they killed someone. But isn't killing the murderer murder? If it's not called murder, what is it called? Instead of helping Caldill and Goforth with their personal, which includes mental health and psychological issues, they were murdered too. Yes, how would I know if they had personal issues that drove them to kill a 73-year-old woman? I honestly don't. But I know that it's not a regular hobby for everyone. Psychologically, those who often choose to do something that is predominantly not done by the majority of the population in the community, they are different, but for a reason that many cannot understand. It could be how they were raised, where they were raised, and what they were exposed to, such as violence. Under what justifications will it take for someone to decide that someone deserves to live? It is nearly impossible to justify that someone deserves to live because statistics, evidence, and numbers don't matter. What justifies for someone to live, even if that person committed murder, is to forgive and to try to help that person. Our emotions and open-mindedness can be the justification for someone to live. By giving people who have committed murders a chance to do right in their lives can effectively be a compensation for death row. It can be a successful solution if people are willing to look past the fact that someone killed someone and dig deep into why the person killed someone. Instead of glancing at the numbers and the bars of how crime rates are going up and putting people in prison, we should be analyzing why these numbers and bars are going up. No murderers have lived to be exposed to rehabilitation because they were all eventually murdered. Rehabilitation is a place for people to recover from addictions, mental or psychological health issues. How would people know that murderers can't be helped from rehabilitation centers if it has never been attempted? We won't know how else we can help others if the minimum resources that are given to us, so we need to use whatever we have. So far, rehabilitation is one of the few successful resources we have. The Bill of Rights, Amendment 8. No excessive bails or fines, no cruel and unusual punishments. Death row and death penalty contradicts Amendment 8. People being told they have to die for what they've done is cruel, and being murdered for their actions is definitely an unusual punishment. Lethal injection / gas, hanging, squad firing, and the electric chair are unusual punishments because it is odd and should be uncommon that people are supposed to die for their mistakes. This amendment does not exist anymore because technically these methods of death penalties are common, and therefore over time, our justice system has found a way to justify death penalty while simultaneously destroying Amendment 8. Now that Amendment 8 does not exist, death row and penalty does. And I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I know it was long, I'm sorry, but really think about it. I hope you guys really took something out of it. Thanks for listening.
Mission accomplished.